This is a joint board matter with you and Supervisor McKay and myself. State funding for K through 12 education has long been a top legislative priority for Fairfax County. Unfortunately, the state's consistent underfunding of K-12 became even worse during the recent economic recession. Since FY 2009, the state has made permanent structural budget cuts to K-12 that have cost localities more than $1.7 billion per biennium statewide. State K-12 funding in FY 2016 remains below the FY 2009 level. Such cuts have required local governments to fill funding gaps with local revenues in order to maintain a quality public school system. In fact, Virginia localities spend $3.55 billion more per year than required to match state K-12 funding, because that is what it actually costs to run local school systems and provide a high-quality education. These state funding cuts have come at a time when localities are increasingly serving children with higher-level needs, including special education students, those learning English as a second language, and those living in economically disadvantaged households. It is critical that state funding truly respond to changing school demographics. A state that is in the top 10 in income should not be in the bottom 10 for state education funding, but that is where Virginia finds itself. At the Virginia Association of Counties meeting in August, we proposed to the VACO Board of Directors that the organization should make full funding of K-12 education an overarching priority in its advocacy efforts this year. That suggestion was agreed to unanimously and enthusiastically by localities throughout the Commonwealth, urban, suburban, and rural. In continuing that initiative, at last week's annual conference, the VACO Board of Directors adopted the attached resolution, which describes the funding challenges faced by localities and urges the Governor and General Assembly to fully fund K-12. We've already learned that the Governor intends to make K-12 funding a priority in his 2016-2018 biennium budget, which will be released next month. The Virginia Municipal League has undertaken a similar effort, as have localities throughout the urban crescent, from Northern Virginia to Fredericksburg and Richmond through to Hampton Roads. As we approach the 2016 General Assembly session, cities, counties, and towns are united in our message. The state must live up to its constitutional responsibility to provide an educational system of high quality for Virginia's school children. Therefore, I move that the board endorse the attached VACO resolution and that the resolution be provided to our Fairfax County General Assembly delegation at our work session next month, where K-12 funding will be the featured topic of discussion.
Second.
Motion made by Supervisor Gross and seconded by Supervisor McKay. Is there discussion? And this is the overarching legislative priority for VACO and for this board as well. Supervisor
Just
McKay.
very briefly, this is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
To get a unanimous support from VACO at their annual meeting. We discussed this at the summer meeting and, had a very small select group of, jurisdictions that were there, and they were all in support of it. But I think all of us were a little surprised at how well it was embraced at VACO, and it clearly shows that this is not a Fairfax County issue, but a statewide issue. And I think that's the most compelling argument we have going into the General Assembly session, that this is not a Northern Virginia issue alone. This is a Commonwealth-wide issue. And I still contend that a major reason why the transportation bill was passed is because local governments banded together and demanded that the state take their fiscal matters seriously. And so this is a big deal. I am really hoping that we will get robust, active support from our school board on this. I mean, we have done the work to tee this up with VACO. VML is on board. The school board needs to step up their efforts as well, both in Fairfax County and with their counterparts across the state, to encourage that the education funding issue be addressed. And so I think this is a big, big deal, and one I hope literally bears financial fruit for us when the General Assembly reconvenes. But at the work session, I think it's really important to get this resolution out and to share with our colleagues that they're going to have statewide support in doing this if they can be bold enough to make the right decision here. So this is a big deal.
Thank you, Supervisor McKay. Supervisor Faust.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I suspect this is a question for staff. Do we know how much additional funding would come to Fairfax County if the standards of quality and standards of accreditation were fully funded?
Claudia Arco, our legislative liaison, is approaching the mic. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Supervisor Faust, I don't have an answer to that question. Because we have so many students, even a small amount of per pupil additional funding for us would be very significant. So, for example, cost of competing for support positions, which would, if the state fully funded it, would yield $36 million for Northern Virginia. For Fairfax County, would be about $12 million. So, and that's just for that one factor. So if they fully funded the standards of quality, it would be a huge amount, but we could get back to you if you wanted specific information.
Number, yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion, Supervisor Hudgens?
Madam Chairman, I kind of agree the number would be very important, but I think the real shift is to change the discussion of where we're going as to where the money should be coming from now. The schools are expressing the concern of a lack of funding, and that should be a legitimate discussion that we can have. But I think the more important part about this discussion is where the funding should really come from. That is the primary role that the state should be playing, and localities have had that shifted to them over the many years, and it needs to readjust or actually just change.
All right, with that, all those in favor of the motion to endorse the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and that motion carries with the chair voting aye.
Thank you, Madam
Supervisor
Chairman.
Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I want to especially thank Supervisor McKay for initiating this discussion at the VACO meeting back in August. It hit a hot button. It hit a nerve. Everybody got on board with it. It does affect every county, every jurisdiction in the Commonwealth.